Well, after the first 8, shall we say, questionable episodes of Marvel's What If, I wasn't sure what the writers needed to do to stick the landing and make the payoff worth it, but what I am sure of is that this was not it. Anybody who's still enjoying What If after this season, I don't know what to tell you. God bless you, congratulations, you obviously see something in this show that I don't, but wow! Instead of being the culmination and payoff of an epic 9-part story, this just turned into a giant microcosm, a perfect example, if you will, of pretty much everything that's wrong with this show. You bring back these terribly written garbage characters, most of whom were no fun the first time we saw them, and task them with defeating God-tier Ultron, a fight that realistically they should have and would have no chance of winning if not for the magic of plot contrivance, and even though you had 8 episodes to plan out and set the stage for this finale, you still couldn't execute it without a million different plot holes. Ultron has the Infinity Stones, and he's going from universe to universe, wiping them all out, so the Watcher is going to the universes from the previous episodes we saw throughout the season, recruiting a team to stop him. He already has the Doctor Strange who destroyed his own universe, just about the only character who's worth a damn in this whole thing, really, so the next name on his list is Captain Carter. Yeah, the most uninspired character from the most uninspired story the show has done. And if that first episode wasn't enough to convince you of just how uninspired and derivative she is, just wait. See, in that episode, Peggy really didn't do a single thing that was new or unique. Literally, all she did was copy the stuff Steve Rogers did in the first Avenger. Practically nothing in that episode was unique to her. All the major events were basically the same, just with Peggy being the super soldier instead of Steve. Now look what she's been up to in the meantime. She's going on the Batroc mission from Winter Soldier just like Steve. She's got Natasha trying to set her up on dates just like Steve. She jumps out of a plane without a chute and fights Batroc just like Steve. Beat for beat, it's the exact same f***ing thing. Swapping Steve out for Peggy changed absolutely nothing, except the super soldier's genitals, and frankly, even that one's a bit of a question mark. That all being said, I argue that the entire Captain Carter concept wasn't even worth doing in the first place. Making Peggy the super soldier didn't put a new spin on things, and it didn't cause different events to transpire, really, unless you're Steve Rogers. So if all Peggy can do when she's given the ball is copy and paste herself into the events of the first 2 Captain America movies and do the exact same stuff Steve already did 9 times out of 10 in the exact same way, then maybe it's finally time we acknowledge that Peggy Carter just might not be that good a character. And here we go. I can feel the downvotes coming already, but you know what? F*** it. It's true. This woman barely has any character at all that isn't derivative of or inspired by Steve Rogers. The one exception you might have been able to make was the Agent Carter TV show, where she was kind of doing her own thing for a while, but that continuity might not even exist anymore since Steve changed things when he went back in time to be with her. So really, the only example you can point to was her role in the first Avenger, because outside of a few cameo appearances she made later on, that was the only time in the entire MCU when Peggy Carter had an identity that was uniquely hers. That being the case, maybe that's where her story should have ended. Then the Watcher recruits Gamora. This Gamora is from an episode that got cut due to production delays or something. Pandemic related, I guess. And apparently, this Gamora is the destroyer of Thanos. So I'm sure it just killed the producers to cut that one. We all know how nerfing Thanos is their favorite pastime. After that, the Watcher recruits Space Jesus T'Challa, and Killmonger. The Killmonger who, in his universe, murdered T'Challa. Now, on paper, these two being on the same team might not seem like the best idea in the world. Given all the history there, this might become an issue, wouldn't it? Well, you'd think so, but you'd be wrong. There is a reason why the Watcher wanted both of them on this team. It's just unfortunate that the reason makes no goddamn sense when they get to it. And the final member of the team is Dude Bro Thor, the Asgardian who screams like a girl, literally, and almost plunged the Earth into a bona fide nuclear holocaust because he couldn't stop partying. That guy. Because in the entire multiverse, the Watcher thought there was no version of Thor better suited to helping defeat Ultron than this one. Not even our Thor, who actually did help defeat Ultron. Weird, huh? Again, there is a reason for this, and again, that reason is bullshit. So this unlikely ragtag team of assholes is who the Watcher is depending on to take Ultron down and save the multiverse. What happened to Uatu? Was Scott Lang's head in a jar not returning your calls? Anyway, they put together a plan to stop this guy. Most of the plan is kept a secret from the audience, but we know that the big crux of the plan relies on destroying the Infinity Stones with an Infinity Crusher, some Deus Ex Machina gizmo we've never even seen or heard of before, but which can somehow solve all their problems, defeat Ultron, and save the entire multiverse that Gamora just randomly pulls out of her ass. That is fucking stupid. And I'm gonna go ahead and assume this thing was introduced and built up in the Gamora episode that we didn't see, so we're missing some context here. But if it wasn't, if this was legitimately the first time we were ever supposed to be introduced to the Infinity Crusher, then it's not just stupid, it's next level stupid. Then Ultron shows up. Now put yourself in Ultron's shoes here. Anyone with half a brain wouldn't even waste their time with these clowns. They'd just use the Mind Stone to cut them in half like he did with Thanos, or just snap them all out of existence and be done with it. But he doesn't. And why? Because if he did, the episode would be over. So instead of our villain being smart like he's supposed to be, we have to make Ultron look like a fucking dumbass and resort to fighting the heroes when he doesn't have to, because that's the only way the heroes stand a chance. Now there is some confusion about whether snapping them or cutting them in half would have actually worked, because before the fight, Strange put spells on everybody that supposedly protect them from the Infinity Stones, basically giving them all magical plot armor. Literally, it even looks like armor. And naturally, this begs the question, if Strange can do this, why in the unholiest of unholy didn't our Doctor Strange do it during Infinity War? So you have to take this with a big grain of salt, but I guess, and this is just speculation, there's nothing to back this up, since this version of Strange is hundreds of years old, maybe he knows magic that our Doctor Strange hadn't learned yet at that point, but without an official explanation, which we don't get, that's all it is. Just speculating. Anyway, they all have plot armor, so snapping them might not work. But the thing is, Ultron didn't know they had plot armor at that point. So why didn't he try to snap them? Why didn't he try to cut them in half? Because all not trying those things does is turn Ultron into a character who has to take his shoes off to count to 21. So there's some nonsensical battles in which Ultron really could have won at any time, but chose not to because if he did, the episode would end 20 minutes early. It's all very, very dumb. This is taking place in the universe where Natasha was the last person alive, so she's there too now. Super amazing badass Space Jesus T'Challa pulls the Soul Stone off of Ultron because he's just that damn awesome, and yes, it's as preposterous as it sounds. So now the Soul Stone is over here somewhere. Everybody's going for it. No one can get their hands on it, even though Ultron could just float the stone to himself with telekinesis, which we know he can do because we saw him do it before, even though he could just wipe these idiots out in a second if he wanted to, because they themselves might be protected from the Infinity Stones, but the environment around them isn't, which of course Ultron barely takes advantage of. There is one legitimately cool moment where Strange buys them some time by opening a portal to the zombie universe and pitting Ultron against zombie Wanda. That was actually a creative and fun idea, so naturally, it's over and done with in about 10 seconds. At one point, Ultron's getting really frustrated, I sympathize, and he says, "I can destroy galaxies with a thought. Why won't you die?" And then, finally, he does try to destroy the galaxy. But I'm not sure what happened. It looks like Strange absorbed all the galaxy-destroying energy and ate it. I think. Again, we really have to speculate because God forbid they actually explain this shit. I guess this might be an ability that Strange acquired when he was destroying his own universe, not that this was ever made clear, but if he's powerful enough to do that, I don't know why the hell Ultron's giving him so much trouble. So now, like an idiot, Ultron is fighting the team hand to hand, not even using the Infinity Stones at all. He could be fucking up reality or teleporting all around them, but no, he tries to beat them with his fists, which isn't very effective. He lands a blow on T'Challa, hitting him with a bunch of rocks, which absolutely should have killed him, but T'Challa's totally fine. Also, Natasha seems to be as strong as a super soldier in this fight. Because eventually Ultron gets bored with this though, so he just uses the Time Stone to slow them all down. And even though they're all wearing their magical Infinity Stone resisting plot armor, this works! Because the plot needs that plot armor to not protect them in this moment, even though said plot armor was protecting them both before and after this. So f*** it. Strange is able to stop this because Strange has the Time Stone from his own universe, meaning that he's unaffected by Ultron's Time Stone, which actually does make sense. But then they restrain Ultron, which he could easily escape by teleporting away, but he doesn't, which does not make sense. They use the Soul Stone to power up the Infinity Crusher gizmo, but it doesn't work because the Crusher was designed to destroy the stones in Gamora's universe. But because these stones are from a different universe, it doesn't work on them. And I might be willing to accept this, but by that logic, wouldn't it mean that Ultron's Infinity Stones shouldn't work outside of his universe? Because they do, but why do the stones work while the Infinity Crusher doesn't? What the hell's the difference? What are the rules? I don't know, and the writers don't care. And then, because their Deus Ex Machina went tits up, Natasha whips out her own Deus Ex Machina that she was working on in the last episode, shoots an arrow into Ultron's eye, and downloads the Arnim Zola AI virus into Ultron's programming. And because the fucking Infinity Stones are somehow powerless against a computer virus, and because an AI created decades ago on an analog device is somehow much more powerful than an AI created by Tony Stark and Bruce Banner using the most sophisticated futuristic 21st century technology known to man, you figure that one out. Ultron just goes kaput. Arnim Zola effortlessly defeats him in a couple seconds, and that's how Ultron dies. Are you f***ing kidding me? I would think that Ultron should have been able to use either the Reality Stone or the Time Stone to save himself from this predicament quite easily, but he doesn't because the episode's almost over and the plot won't let him. But we're not quite done yet. All episode long, Killmonger has been tinkering with the head of one of the Ultron drones. That's really all he's been doing. He barely got involved in the fight. I actually forgot he was even there for a while. But now, he somehow accesses the drone's telekinesis to draw the Ultron armor and the stones to himself, meaning that there was absolutely nothing stopping Ultron from using his telekinesis to grab the Soul Stone when they were fighting over that. He could have done this at any time, but he didn't. Why? Because f*** you, that's why. And thus we arrive at the big twist that after looking shifty and suspicious as hell for the entire episode, Killmonger was, in fact, untrustworthy. I know, right? Now Killmonger's got the stones. It looks like we've just traded one monster for another, but Arnim Zola's controlling Ultron's body now, so he uses his telekinesis to try to float the stones back to him. Now the two of them are fighting over the stones, and while they're doing this, Strange realizes that they were never meant to win. They were only meant to separate the stones from the body. So he creates a crystal prison around them, trapping them inside, just like when he was trapped in his own crystal prison after he destroyed his own universe. And then Strange is back in there, resigned to watching Killmonger and Arnim Zola fight over the Infinity Stones inside a crystal prison for the rest of eternity to make sure they never break out. It couldn't be simpler. Okay, so that was several twists past needlessly convoluted. And then the big revelation, it turns out that the Watcher foresaw all of this. He saw everything. The failed Infinity Crusher, Killmonger's betrayal, Strange's sacrifice, all of it. That, you see, is the reason why the Watcher gathered these specific people from across the multiverse. And once again, they don't explain this very well, so I have to speculate, but I guess it was these 6 people, and only these 6 people, who could have caused events to transpire in such a specific way that would allow them to defeat Ultron. And the Watcher foresaw it, knowing from the get-go that everything was going to happen in this exact way. But this is implying that the Watcher has some kind of future sight. that has never been alluded to before. Because if the Watcher foresaw all this shit before it even happened, why exactly was he so shocked when an Infinity Stone wielding Ultron showed up in the first fucking place? So you're telling me that this entire stupid story was predicated on an ability you clearly showed that the Watcher did not have just 2 episodes prior? What the f***? Also, I still failed to see why he needed these specific people. In a well-written story, it would have been because each character brought something very unique to the table that no one else could. And you could say that about Strange, Natasha, and arguably Killmonger, but what about the others? What did they do that was so unique? All they really did was fight, and they're certainly not the only people in the multiverse who can do that. So everyone goes back to their own universes. Natasha gets to go to the universe where Hank Pym killed Natasha so she can just take that Natasha's place. Peggy finds the Proto-Iron Man armor on the Batroc mission. Apparently Steve is inside, presumably not dead somehow, and I couldn't fucking care less. What the hell was this? You spent 8 episodes building up to some huge payoff, and for what? An Ultron with the power to wipe out entire universes in the blink of an eye, who the good guys are only able to stand against because the plot won't let him actually use this power to defeat them or save himself from a retro computer virus when he easily could have. A motley crew of heroes with magical plot armor that makes them safe from the Infinity Stones except when the plot needs it not to, and a Watcher who was just standing by the whole time doing f***ing nothing! Ask yourself this question. The Watcher is clearly very powerful, so much so that he was able to hold his own in a fight against Ultron for a while in episode 8. He was losing, but he put up a good fight, so the heroes could have really used his help in this fight here. So why didn't he help them? You can't say that he foresaw himself not getting involved because 1, they never mention that, and 2, that foresee everything ability is bullshit as I just pointed out. And you can't say that he swore an oath not to interfere because he already broke that oath when he brought all the heroes together. Hell, the second Ultron told the Watcher to put his dukes up, he was interfering whether he wanted to or not. And yet he just stands back doing all, while the fate of the entire multiverse is decided by Captain Feminism, Dude Bro of Asgard, Space Jesus, a woman who's so unimportant her whole episode got cut from the season, a villain so depraved that he keeps a kill count on his own skin, a guy whose inability to listen to reason caused the destruction of an entire universe, and the last woman on Earth carrying around a Deus Ex Machina in a f***ing flash drive. Needless to say, this didn't endear the Watcher to me all that much. A sentiment that also applies to the writers of this show. So with all that being said, I think we can break this bad boy out now. I gave it the entire season to win me over, but I did not enjoy What If. With 1 or 2 exceptions, the characters were terrible, the stories were lazy, the ideas were uninspired, the storytelling was sloppy at best with plot holes all over the damn place, and even when the writers tried to swing for the fence and do something ambitious by coming up with a narrative that tied everything together, all they accomplished was shooting themselves in the foot because the method by which they resolved the whole thing was incredibly stupid and made no sense. But there is a silver lining here. The storytelling device of What If basically means they get an automatic do-over every week with continuity they have zero obligation to follow. So if the show gets a season 2, which I have zero interest in after this, all they need to do to instantly turn the whole thing around is get some better writers. Now, will they actually get those better writers? I doubt it. But hey, if Scott Lang's head in a jar can exist in the same universe where zombie Thanos is a thing, then anything's possible. Thanks for watching. If you liked or hated this review or this episode, let me know in the comments. Ding the bell icon and follow my social media so you'll always know when I upload new stuff. I also have a live streaming channel. All the links are down below. And don't forget to thumbs up the video, share, subscribe, and make sure you're still subscribed. That one's important. Always make sure you're still subscribed, and I'll be back with something non-What If related very soon. So stay tuned for that, do all the YouTube things, and I'll see you next time.